or something that popped into someone's head that we just didn't think of beforehand. So yeah, if that all sounds good to everybody, without further ado, Coach Leslie, you have the floor.
Sure. So thanks everybody for joining us, and thanks Aaron for agreeing to come talk to us. So Aaron is actually my cousin. I've known him for about 36 years now. And we kind of come from a sort of running family. So my dad runs, our uncle runs, or used to. He's still kind of a crazy runner dude. Works in the USATF realm doing officiating. And Aaron's been working at the local running store in Rome, Georgia, if anybody knows where that is, northwest of Atlanta, for about, 2 years now, I guess it's been?
Or 4.5.
4.5? What? No. Oh, well, I guess, yeah, COVID makes time fly. So, that's it'll get you. So he's now, like a little running shoe expert, which is kind of an unexpected surprise. Aaron mostly just played soccer growing up and still loves soccer. So that's where he runs. He doesn't like run. And now it's rugby, right? Like that's your primary.
Aussie rules football, but yeah, close.
So different kind of running from what most of us do. But yeah, been working at a running store for 4.5 years. Did I miss anything, Aaron? You want to tell us about your shoe expertise?
No, that's like Leslie said, I'm not one that's gonna get out and just go run 10 miles for the sake of running 10 miles. I'm not a huge racer. I'll run a 5K every now and then, but usually my running is to stay in shape for Aussie rules football, or for what used to be soccer. But at the same time, I'm still putting in some miles. I try out most of the shoes that I have at some point. Some of them I know immediately these aren't going to work for me for running, but I can wear them around. So I've tried a good bit of different stuff. I really enjoy it. Running shoes, I've had chances to go do other things. I really love the running shoe industry. I love helping people. Mostly what I deal with at work is actually folks that are working in their shoes or have feet issues and looking for something to provide relief. But I do occasionally help. About 20% of our customers are runners. So I am dealing with that a good bit. I'm very familiar with it. And really, really excited to talk to you guys today because I don't get to talk to running shoes people that love running shoes a whole lot.
I think the other thing that was interesting to me too, Aaron, is that outside of the populations that you typically work with, you're very big into the specs side of things, and that's kind of I almost want to say a little bit of a passion when it comes to what you do inside the store. You like the details, you like the specs, you like to learn all about the shoes and the different foams and all the things. It's not just walking into a store and having a conversation with somebody and they're like, oh, this is a stability shoe, this is for pronation, this is for, this is a neutral. You kind of dig in a little bit more. And I got that from our call. And that's what really interested me.
Yeah, I literally have in front of me right now on my phone a spreadsheet with a bunch of specifications of the weight, the stack heights and everything on a lot of different shoes because I know a lot of these. I know some of the stack heights. I know the heel drop on most of them, or at least what the brands say the heel drop is, but I don't necessarily know what the actual stack height on all of them is and what the weight on everything is. And knowing you guys are deeper into the running community, that's an important thing for you guys. So I made sure I wrote down a whole bunch of different stuff here in the last bit.
That's great. That's great. And I think that we will probably ask a lot more of those, pros and cons, like we mentioned before, hopefully this gives everyone information that they can take, and then pros and cons, what might be best for them. So they don't have to go digging through a million different blogs. So on that note, I think one of the main, the main things that people wanted to explore on this call from the feedback that I've already gotten is more on the super shoe side of things. So when we talk about racing, even training to some degree, there's different types of plates now. People want to hear a lot about carbon, but we really want to kind of know the difference between the different plates and again, the pros and cons of each, so that it's easier to decide, hey, these might be able to be used for some training and some workouts, that aren't just, hey, I'm going to do this workout to make sure it doesn't hurt me during the race. That actually I'm going to choose this shoe because it's going to help me recover better. It's going to help me perform better, and it's going to help me adapt better within the workout itself. So if there's any way that we can just start by you telling us the different types of plates, and then maybe what you know in regards to the best application for all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't have a whole lot of plated shoes in store, but I am familiar with them. So carbon plate obviously is the most popular one, especially when it comes to racing. You think about like okay, say you watch the Boston Marathon or New York Marathon. Most of the folks that are running in that are probably going to be in either I think it's the Alpha Fly from Nike, or they're going to be I didn't look up what the Adidas equivalent was, or the Cloud Boom Echo from On, the Endorphin Elite from Saucony. Sometimes you see some folks in the forget which one the Brooks is. It's not the Hyperion Elite. There's another one that's above that. You see a lot of those professional runners in those, and they're very squishy carbon plated shoes. They have a lot of response to them. My boss actually just got a pair of Cielo X1s from Hoka today for a race, and I threw them on my foot for just a second. I was like, holy crap, this is bouncy. They don't fit me, and they're his shoes. I left them in the office, or else I'd show them to you. But those carbon plated shoes are meant to maximize the energy return. Obviously, you have the plate in the middle, and I'll show you. This is my Hyperion Max 2. It has got a PVAX plate. You can see like right here, the plate is. You can see right here where there's that's a PVAX plate, a plastic plate. So a lot of them have the carbon plate that goes right here, a very soft, squishy foam here. And the whole point of that is when you're landing and you're pushing off, for the plate to give that energy return to push off of. The carbon plate obviously does it a little bit better. You get a better energy return off the carbon plate. You also don't get as much life off of the carbon plated shoes, especially the carbon plated racing shoes. Most of those are generated for about 200 miles as to what they're supposed to go for. Whereas if you're going with like the Hyperion Max 2, which again is a plastic plate, or the Endorphin Speed, the Endorphin Speed 4, it has a nylon plate. It is meant these are both more daily trainers. You can typically get about 350 to 400 miles out of these trainers as opposed to a carbon plated racing shoe. There are some carbon plated trainers out nowadays. One example, I do not have them. We don't carry them in store, is the Skyward X from Hoka. And let me pull that up real quick because I had it in my notes here. The Skyward X is it's not a legal racing shoe. It does have a carbon plate. So legal racing shoes, obviously 40 millimeters is the max stack height. The Skyward X has got a 49 millimeter stack height at the heel, 44 in the forefoot. It weighs 10.8 ounces. It is not stable. I put that thing on my foot a few months ago and about broke my left ankle just setting it down. But if you're looking for something as a daily trainer to just kind of, I think Dr. Asher and I talked about this the other day, to not have as much, to kind of as your recovery shoe, to give yourself so you're not having as much effort in a recovery run, but still getting your miles in, that you're not just wanting a kind of long flow day shoe like the Hoka Bondi or the A6 Gel Nimbus. You want something that's going to maximize your energy return so you're not having to put forth as much energy, but also so you get a carbon plated shoe. The Skyward X is a good example of something like that. Another one, there's plenty of other options like that that don't have plates in them that are actually really nice. This is the Cloud Eclipse from On Running, and it has a speed board in it here. So you can see right here, the Cloud Eclipse, some of the stuff they do is really nice. It's actually, I have not run in this one. I have a pair. My coworker runs in this quite regularly. And they're really nice. He actually compares it to, again, his Endorphin Speed. He loves the Endorphin Speed. He said they're very comparable. The one thing about these though is these don't last very long. So this is my um, this is my Cloud Eclipse, and these are the same size, and you can see just how different the height is between them. There's a lot more height in this one, which is brand new. This one's been worn down, and I have not run in this. Only used this for here. Um, so there are some carbon plated options there that you can use. I think so obviously the Skyward X, the Mach X from Hoka is a good one. There's some others. I'm not as familiar with the other brands and their stuff. The Endorphin Pro, a lot of people use that if they're professionals, and they use the Endorphin Elite for races. Um, so there's a lot of good options out there with those. You do get a lot of energy return out of the Carbon X. So especially, I think we had talked about the um, on Friday, which is kind of an intro, like using the carbon plated shoe as a recovery shoe. It's actually pretty good for it. If as long as you're understanding that you're going to spend $200+ on this, especially a carbon plated shoe, and maybe not get the same lifespan out of it that you're going to get out of a regular shoe. Um, but I do have other options that you could go with. If you're ever familiar with the Nova Blast from Asics, the Nova Blast is not a carbon plated shoe, and at the $140 price range of it's actually got a really nice bounce. This piece right here on the underside, I don't know how they did it, but they've done an incredible job where this gives a lot of energy return. And at that $140 price range, when you get the energy return out of this shoe that you would get out of this one at 180, then you're saving money. You get the same lifespan, maybe a little bit more out of these. Um, Same thing here with the Rebel from New Balance. The Rebel, the Fuel Cell Rebel is a really good example of that too. Kind of a lightweight everyday trainer that if you're looking for like a recovery run that you don't necessarily want to go super fast in, but you also don't want to just like take an LSD shoe, like again the Bondi or the Gel Nimbus. Those are great options to just kind of still give you the energy return on a recovery run, to that'll still give you some spring so that you're bouncing off of it as opposed to something else. Um, and again, the Hyperion Tempo is a decent option for that too. And honestly, the Glycerin Max, the new Glycerin Max, is also a decent option for that. Not doesn't have a plate in it. It's just a lot of shoe, honestly. I mean, ton of shoe. Like 46 in the heel, I think 40 in the forefoot. It's a lot of shoe. But my boss runs competitively, and he's run through this like crazy. I think he's run through like 4 pairs of them, and like he's on his fourth pair, and they've been out for 6 months. So he's running them like crazy right now. But that's kind of some options for the carbon plated stuff. Again, I'm not the most familiar with the carbon plated stuff. If you want more specs on the stuff, I did write down a lot of others like the Ultrafly, the Alphafly, different stuff like that. The obviously the Carbon X is the old one. The Mach X is a good one from Hoka. The Vanish Carbon from Ultra, if we have any Ultra people here, I think is still out, but I'm not. I have the Vanish Tempo from like a few years ago. I haven't checked on the Vanish Carbon in the last few years, but definitely some good options out there.
When it comes to stability, so I have the Endorphin Pros. I know some people have the Endorphin Pros. I find that they, because of the actual like surface area, like contact area that I have with the ground, I often feel like they're a little bit unstable. Do you like, if you were going to suggest this is a carbon plastic nylon plated shoe with the most stability, the most like the least amount your body has to rely on its natural balance mechanisms to keep your foot grounded, what would it be? What would that shoe, or maybe a couple shoes that you are like, yes, this one, not necessarily like for pronation or anything like that, just stability, like your contact area on the ground?
Yeah, and that's the one thing. Like again, with carbon plated shoes, there's not much stability in any of them. Most of them, if you're looking for that maximum energy return, there's just not a whole lot of stability. I've had podiatrists send people here that needed stability shoes, and they were like, "Yeah, go get a carbon plated shoe. That's stable. That's stable." And I'm like, "No, please don't go back to that podiatrist again." So I will say the Hyperion Max 2, it does have that plastic plate. It's got a good base to it. Mostly, if you're looking for something that's more stable, you're probably looking at more of the plastic or nylon plated shoes, or something like this one's not terrible with the Speedboard. I wouldn't say that On is my favorite for stability, but it's not the worst. I wear these quite regularly here at work, around the shop and around the store and everything, and they're pretty good. Now I also supinate. I roll to the outside. At some point, you'll see my shoes, and they just roll all the way out here like this. Um, but that's down the road, and you're not going to wear that out that quick. So those actually are pretty good for that. Yeah, I'd have to dig more into the carbon plated stuff to see how stable everything is. I know from putting on that Cielo X1 just for like 2 seconds earlier, there is no stability in that one. Um, but I definitely think there's some options there. Like I said, I know this one is actually a little more firm. The Hyperion Max is. I think there's some other ones like that are a little more firm as well. The Endorphin Speed isn't a terrible option if you're looking for a training shoe that's kind of got that speed roll and that guide. Um, that one's been really good for us. We have obviously I'm right down the road from Berry College, largest campus in the world, and uh, their cross country runners come to us all the time. And over the years, one of the most consistent shoes that they have worn is the Endorphin Speed. That's it's been a when those guys come in for some point during the season, almost every time somebody's like, "Yeah, can I get the Endorphin Speed?" Yeah, absolutely. Let me see what I've got. Um, so that one's been really consistent for us over the year. The Endorphin Speed 4 has not been as good for us as the Endorphin Speed 2 and 3. The Endorphin Speed 2 and 3 were immaculate, and we could not keep those in stock for the Berry runners when it came time that everybody needed shoes and they just come get them all at once. But the Endorphin Speed 4 has not been as good. The newest one comes out in the spring. I believe it's either April or May. I have had a chance to try that on already. It is very comfortable. I really like it. I'm excited about that one coming out and replacing the fours. Um, so that's a good option there, in terms of just something that's got a little bit of a plate to it. Trying to see here through my notes if I had any other ones that were on there. Not really that had any plates to them. Um, Again, that's not really my specialty is carbon plates. I know them. I know some of them. I've tried some of them on, but no more than like put them on for 30 seconds and do a lap around the store with it on 1 foot, while our rep is here. That's a one that I definitely think you could get some out of the, again, nylon or plastic plates are probably where you're going to get the most stability, because most of those carbon plated shoes are made specifically for racing. Um, and there are obviously the Skyward X is definitely one. I didn't feel any stability in that, but then again, it was also a size too small for me, so that could be part of it. I'm the only one that ever gets to try on the shoes when they come into stock because my size 10 foot can still fit into a size 9, and everybody else wears like 11 and a half or 12. So I'm the only one that ever gets to try on shoes when the reps come. And that's the only time I ever try on carbon plated shoes, honestly. Um,
To kind of wrap, I think the only thank you for all that. Like that's very good specific information. I think the only question that kind of was hanging around that athletes like submitted beforehand was really specifically about the Hyperion Elite and just kind of what you saw in previous versions, what now structure is like, and what they built into this year's shoe or this latest model shoe that you're seeing that is different from the past.
um, I've really liked the Hyperion Elite every time I've tried it on. Every time I'm just like, wow, this is really bouncy, and wow, I could go so much faster than I ever should in this shoe. But I have put it on a few times, run around in the store in it. It is very comfortable. Um, I've always liked it, but I don't really know how it compares that much to the rest of them. I know how the Hyperion Max goes for me. The Hyperion Max in the first version, I didn't like it. I really like the Hyperion Max 2 because they added that plate to it. The Hyperion Elite, every time I've tried it on, has been really nice. And it seems to be fairly favorable every time I've talked to our rep, and he's been pretty straight with me about everything. Um, it's kind of just one of those uh, shoes. Sometimes it's an ebb and flow. Again, like that. I know the Endorphin Pro 4 and the Endorphin Speed 4 haven't done as well as the threes in either one of those versions. Um, I think I know the Endorphin I know the Hyperion Elite right now is on sale because I think the Hyperion Elite 5 is coming out sometime soon. And I don't remember. I think I tried the Hyperion Elite 5 when our rep was here back in December. And it felt great to me. The size was about right. Everything felt good with it. Again, has a lot more bounce. I like the Hyperion Max too because it's not it does have some bounce, but I feel like the stability in here. This is definitely not the most bouncy material. It's definitely a little more, I guess, firm. It's not really firm though. It's very responsive. I think that's the one thing with the Elite that Brooks has done. Brooks's mo right now is not as squishy. So the Endorphin Pro 4, the Cielo from the Cielo X1 from Hoka, both very squishy, bouncy. Um, and you can feel that every time you step. You're like, oh man, I'm sinking into this shoe and then bouncing back up. Brooks isn't. It seems more firm, but really, the where they're doing their technology right now, it's very responsive. And I know that the new Hyperion Elite is going to have. I don't remember if it's going to have the DNA Tune technology. So the Glycerin Max, that they just came out with in the fall, has brand new DNA Tune technology. I don't exactly know how to describe it, but basically you can see. Let me grab the one off the wall real quick. Um, because you can see in this one a lot better. You see how there's this yellow piece here, and you can see how it's a little yellow inside. So they did like two different layers of foam inside this shoe. You see it a lot better in this one than you do in my actual shoe. But they did like a double layer of foam in here that gives it a lot of response. Really, really bouncy, and that's going to be what's coming out new with Brooks. So the new Hyperion Elite 5 is going to have that. It is going to be very responsive. That was what I noticed on all of the new Brooks line that I tried a few months ago. Was everything just made you just feel like you were bouncing in ways that Brooks had not previously. So that's definitely what they're going with. Um, it is a little different than what everybody else is doing, but at the same time, considering the fact that Brooks outsells every other shoe in my store 2 to 1, I can't really say they're doing it in a bad way.
Yeah. When we're talking about Brooks too, one of the questions was directly related to the Hyperion Max that you have and the Ghost Max. Can you
Mhm.
compare those two?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh wait, sorry, I had to find my Ghost Max. I realized mine are on my feet, so they it's a Monday. That's typically my Ghost Max day because they're like my most comfortable shoes to wear around the store. And after I play Aussie Rules football on Sunday in cleats for 2 hours, my torn PCL in my left knee feels like junk. So I put on what's most comfortable for me. So this is the Ghost Max 2. This has the DNA Loft version, or the DNA Loft in there that has nitrogen injected. So this was the first one that they did the nitrogen injected with the Ghost Max. They started that with the Glycerin 20s. And the 21s, the actual Brooks Ghost 16 has the nitrogen injected sole now. So This is a very nice, responsive shoe. It's very soft. I wouldn't say it's the most cushiony shoe, but it does have a lot of really nice response to it. It is this will be probably more in your LSD category, long slow day shoe. It's also one that we put a lot of folks in that are working in hospitals. This shoe was designed to, if, and this is straight from my rep's mouth. This shoe was designed because they lost market share to Hoka in the medical industry. They were losing market share to Hoka in the medical industry, a little bit in the running industry, but they really wanted to create a shoe that they could compete with Hoka with when they created the Ghost Max, because Hoka's, everyone was chasing Hoka at that time with the high stack height, the max cushion. Obviously, Asics has switched to that in the last few years. This was Brooks, the Brooks Ghost. The original Brooks Ghost was, or Ghost Max was the first iteration of that from Brooks, and it went really well for us. We got a lot of folks that are running in it. One of my coworkers switched from, she'd been running she's done multiple ultra marathons, done a lot of different stuff, done 100 milers, 100Ks, all this stuff. She had run exclusively in the Hoka Clifton for about 7 years. She put the original Ghost Max on her foot, started running in that, and was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." It was the first time she had ever been able to run in a Brooks. She really liked it. It's got the one difference between the Ghost Max and so like I do not have my glycerin or Ghost with me. So either way, so this one has a straight lat here. So in a lot of the other shoes, you have a kind of a X pattern with a lot of them, like the Rebel here, for example. So here you're going like this with the shoe, coming out like this, and it's almost like making an X here going across. The With the Ghost Max, you have more of the H pattern. So you have like four different pieces here, 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 and here. So that gives stability on the inside and the outside. That was kind of what they did with the Ghost Max to give it a little bit more stability for both either side without being a stability shoe. You kind of get that max cushioning. I've heard, I haven't really tested it out, that the original Ghost Max actually had a little bit more responsiveness and could be more like a tempo shoe if you wanted it to be. This one seems to be a little more plush, not quite as much of a tempo shoe, or could even be used as a tempo shoe as the original Ghost Max. Obviously, you do have the Hyperion Max too. So the original Hyperion Max had an 8 millimeter drop. This one they switched to a 6 millimeter drop. The original Hyperion Max did not have a plate in it. This one has a plastic or PVAX plate in it. You can see right here running along that line is where that line is. That's where the plate is. And that kind of helps just give a little bit more responsiveness when you're running. I did 2 5Ks last year. I'm not that fast. So my first one I did, I think I did 34 minutes, and that was running in a Topo Atmos. Loved that shoe. It was great. I ran the second one and this one, and did not do that much more training and dropped 2 minutes off the time. So that was part of it. Was maybe it was summer when I ran the first one. It was ungodly hot, and the second one was on Thanksgiving Day, and it was like 50 degrees and perfect. But at the same time, I really like the responsiveness out of this shoe. I do not like working in this. I will never work in this. I worked in this for like half an hour, for like 2 hours one day. Standing in it hurts because of that plate. But running in it, walking in it feels amazing. That is, again, this one I think does have, so this has a DNA flash. Trying to read what it says on here. It is nitrogen injected, but Brooks does different things with their technology. They call different things. I know that this one just is a little bit more responsive. The DNA Flash is than what the DNA Loft version 3 is. That's just part of its technical speak from Brooks. But another part is it really does make a difference. I've noticed a difference between their DNA Tune technology, which is on the Glycerin 22 and the Glycerin Max and the Ghost Max, the DNA Loft. Um, there's a lot of different. Every company uses different words. Obviously, what Saucony uses their Power Run PB. No, the A6 uses what the FF Blast Max or FF Blast Plus. It's all just what they call the way they do their technology. But it's all slightly different. And each company does different things with it. I think that Brooks right now with the Hyperion Max, again, I really like this shoe a lot. Um, but I also like this one, but I like them for different reasons. This one I love for running. This one, I haven't run in this one as much, mainly just because I have other shoes to run in. But again, I do know folks that love running in the Ghost Max. It is definitely more of a long, slow day type shoe, or just, going to go out there and slog some miles. Don't really care how fast you're going. Great recovery run shoe. Um, if you're not looking to go very fast for a recovery run. So.
Yeah, thanks. If you have, so a different scenario completely, looking at like specific anatomical things that people are trying to accommodate in shoes. If someone had a narrower foot but still needed good arch support built into the shoe, is there one for roads and one for trails that you would suggest to someone walking into your store?
If you need definitely for sure, if you're looking for something that's a little more narrow, I forgot to grab it, but I do have it in stock. The Challenger and the Speed Goat from Hoka, both run kind of narrow. The Challenger 6 is a little wider than what the Challenger, or not, sorry, the Speed Goat 6 is a little wider than what the Speed Goat 5 was, but the Speed Goat 5 was very narrow. That's kind of been one of Hoka's issues in the last year or so, is they've been too narrow on the arch. A lot of the Hokas, like right here, have like cut into people's arches. The Speed Goat actually doesn't do that, but it does keep it kind of tight. A few other options for that, for road, depending on what you're looking for. Trying to think. Some of our narrower options for the road right now. Honestly, the Adrenaline from Brooks. The Brooks Adrenaline is actually kind of narrow at the moment. Same thing with, let me look at my wall real quick. I got to think about this. Honestly, right now, some of our New Balance are running a little bit more narrow. I know they're typically known as a wide fit shoe. They do carry a lot of wides, but they have been running a little bit more narrow. And they have some pretty good arch support. I do know that from trying on the Rebel quite recently, it has a great arch support, but it is kind of narrow. I'm usually about a size 10 nowadays. To be comfortable in the shoe, I would have to go to a 10 and a half. So that's kind of, I do have a little bit of a wider foot, but I know that one runs a little narrow. The one brand that has been most consistently narrow for us in terms of road shoes has definitely been Mizuno, though. Mizuno has been a little small, a little tight and narrow. For another road shoe that I think fits a little bit more narrow is the Cascadia, and maybe the Caldera from Brooks. Generally, most Brooks fit a little wider, but I did notice that the Cascadia was a little bit tighter on my foot when I tried it on. We just sold the last one a few days ago, but it's been a little bit tighter on the foot than some of the others have been. Saucony, I don't know how the Peregrine runs. I've seen the Peregrine. I don't usually carry the Peregrine, but I think that one has maybe been on a little bit of the more narrow side as well, but I'm not completely sure on that.
What about people who have a lot of rubbing on the back of their heel? Like if you had like a Haglunds or something where you have like that anatomical growth. or people who tend to hit hot spots on the back of their foot. Do you have any specific shoe that maybe is a little taller or has some kind of structural difference that lends itself to individuals who have that issue?
Yeah, so I actually did some research on this last night because I was looking at it and I was like, I was pretty sure I knew what it was that was, and but I was like, I haven't heard it described as that. A lot of times when I hear Haglins or something like that, a lot of times when folks are talking about that, they're saying, I'm getting folks coming in from doctors that are like, yeah, I got a heel spur on the back of the heel or something like that. Um, and a lot of times with that, what we're going with is a high heel drop shoe. Um, so the shoes that I have in stock that have the highest heel drop, sometimes we're also going with stability with that. The Brooks Ghost and the Brooks Adrenaline both have a 12 millimeter drop. Same thing with the Ariel and the Beast from Ghost or from Brooks. The Beast is the men's max stability. The Ariel is the women's max stability. If you're looking for that for walking, go for it. I wouldn't suggest running in it. They're very heavy. The Glycerin or Glycerin GTS from Brooks would also be an option. They have a 10 millimeter drop. So those are both higher. The Nova Blast from Asics has, I swear, it has a 10 millimeter drop. Their website says it has an 8 millimeter drop. I have heard from their rep multiple times it's a 10 millimeter drop and always has been. And it typically works as that. My dad has Achilles issues and he wears the Nova Blast religiously, and it helps out. So the Nova Blast is a good option for that. Other people go the opposite way and they go to a zero drop shoe, and something that's light. The Escalante from Ultra, or potentially the Paradigm from Ultra, which I know that stretches it out in the Achilles, which is typically not what most folks say to do, but it works for some people. The Escalante is very, probably it's the most minimalist shoe we carry at 24 millimeters stack height all the way across. It's also got like more of a sock like upper, and that sock like upper is really nice for that. And it's really soft on the heel. It doesn't compress too much. So those are always some options. The Mizunos also have a really high heel drop at 12 millimeters, but at least the Wave Inspire and the Wave Rider do. Sometimes those are a little bit, again, more narrow though. So sometimes it doesn't work if it's squeezing too much on the heel. But those could work. I've found one of my favorites for just the way it fits on my heel. Granted, I do not have Haglund syndrome or anything like that. It's actually the Topo Atmos. This one is my shoe. As you can see, it's been beat to hell. But it really feels really nice on the heel. It holds my heel very well. And I really like the way it feels there. Plus, you get the wide toe box in the front. That's been that's one of my favorites, and just how it feels on the heel, in terms of any shoe. But everybody's different, and some of them. But again, finding something that's kind of soft there, that's not going to squeeze it too much, is generally a good idea.
Yeah, for sure. No, that was great. Can we kind of pivot a little bit to what trail shoes you have, or have exposure to, or knowledge base in, and kind of pros and cons of those, similarly to what you did with the road running shoes you have in store?
Absolutely. So the trail shoes that I have in store, again, I know we're in Rome and Berry College and lots of trails, but most of those trails you don't need a trail shoe for, so I don't have a whole lot in store. The trail shoes that we actually carry in stock are, I have the Ultra Lone Peak. Obviously, they're classic. We have the Temp from Ultra. I have the what else? The Challenger all terrain shoe from Hoka, and I have the Speed Goat from Hoka. I have several of those. I've got the Speed Goat 5. That's why I can tell you it definitely fits narrow. Even I went up to a 10 and a half and it still fit narrow on me. The 6 fits a little bit better. The Speed Goat, the Ultra. So a lot of folks have loved the Ultra Escalante for a long time. And I have too. It's been one of my favorite shoes. I don't really run in it that much. I'm hoping to talk my boss into bringing the Experience Wild sometime next year, or this year, because the Experience Wild is the first one from Ultra that has a 4 millimeter drop as opposed to the zero drop in terms of a trail shoe. Um, the In terms of grip of those, I do know that in terms of those shoes, which again, like I said, I'm limited in what I've got in store. The Speed Goat is probably the one that I feel has the best grip of everything. And the Challenger again, it's more of an all-terrain shoe. They say it's good enough for the road and good enough for the trail at the same time. A lot of folks use it for both. Let me see. I did pull up a few of the things. So let's see here. I am familiar with the Mafate Speed. One of our bosses has the Mafate Speed. He did a trail race in those. He really liked those a lot. The Mafate Speed is supposedly 33 millimeters in the heel, 29 in the forefoot, 10.4 ounces on the men's. They do have a nice lug depth on them at 3.9 millimeters. Another one the Temp from Ultra the Temp actually has the does have the Vibram outsole on it. So that was the Olympus from Ultra has had the Vibram outsole for many years. I know that's been one a lot of folks that have done the Appalachian Trail have been doing the Temp for years. And a lot of folks have been doing like just regular like through hikes have been doing the Lone Peak. The Olympus has got a really nice got a 3.5 millimeter lug depth as opposed to the Temp has a 3 millimeter lug depth. The Speed Goat is the Speed Goat is one of those. I can send you a link to a website. It's called runrepeat.com. If you ever want to look up like specific shoes and what the actual specs are composed to what the brand says they are, because they actually go and cut the shoe in half and do all the measurements. The Speed Goat? The Speed Goat Hoka says is at 40 millimeters in the heel, 35 in the forefoot, whereas Run Repeat cut it in half and it's like 37 in the heel and 27 in the forefoot. So big difference there. But it does have a really nice 4 millimeter lug depth, and I will say that I really like the lugs of the Speed Goat. You definitely get you're going to grab the ground and not have any trouble letting go. The only thing that's going to grab the ground better is the Speed Cross from Salomon, because those trail cleats are incredible. But I don't carry the Salomon anymore. Unfortunately, we used to, but COVID kind of ruined all of that, as it did a lot of things. We've carried the Cascadia before from Brooks. The Cascadia does have a nice rock plate in it, but the Cascadia is definitely, if you're looking for a stable trail shoe, the Cascadia is it. That is a very stable trail shoe, but there's not a whole lot of response in it, at least not the previous versions. I think the Cascadia 18 is a little better. We have the 17, so it's kind of a little bit different, but it's still very nice lug depth in there. I definitely would recommend, if you're looking for something stable for the trails, you won't go wrong with either the Speed Goat or the Cascadia. The Lone Peak's a good one. The Temp definitely, I think, got a little bit better grip because it has the Vibram outsole. But you're also sacrificing that because it's got a little bit more cushioning. May not have as much stability in it.
That's great. I think we might pause right now. We have about 14 more minutes left in the call. I kind of just want to open it up to anyone that might have some follow-up questions. Like, it can be about a specific shoe, one you've used in the past, or one you're considering for this next season. Anything's on the table. If you are curious about it, please ask. If you are, you can just come off mute and hop on with your question.
Aaron, why are shoes so tall now?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Everything's going to again.
Like you said, what one of those had like a 49 millimeter stack height, and I'm like, that's a high heel. Like that is.
Yeah, yeah, that's almost a full 2 inches.
Yeah.
25
I
millimeters each. And
I tried one the other day and I couldn't do it. I was like, I can't. I didn't feel comfortable walking around it, so I was like, there's no way I'm gonna run. And I'm not always the most graceful, as Asher can confirm. Sometimes I meet the ground more frequently than I'd like. Yeah, family trait. But yeah, it's a trend.
It is a trend. I think it's and at some point I think it'll go back cyclical the other direction. Everything goes in cycles. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. If you want something shorter, take a trip to Europe, order something there, bring a bunch back, because they are definitely shorter in Europe. If not, just transition to Ultra and get the Escalante a lot.
Yeah.
Glycerin Max. This shoe, I have tried running in this 3 times in the last month, and every time, it doesn't matter how much stretching, how much I do beforehand, it is too much shoe and too soft for me. It has been jacking up my lower back every time I run in it, and I think it's just too soft. Again, I've been running in the Hyperion Max, ran in that, for like 2.5, 3 months last year. Great, loved it. Again, didn't have many issues. Doing the same thing, stretching out every time, and nothing. I run in cleats all the time. Playing Australian football. Now, granted, that's on grass instead of concrete, but it's a lot different. I've had folks come in multiple times. Be like, "Oh, that sits up too high. That's way too high." Brooks has been the standard bearer. The shoe that was too soft was the Glycerin Max. Sorry, saw that pop up. Too soft for me. Definitely works great for some people. Again, my boss loves it. Trail shoe equivalent to the Kayano with arch support. Oh man, that's a tough one. The Kayano is a beast when it comes to arch support and stability. Um, I would think if you're looking for a trail shoe with the equivalent of the arch support of the Kayano, your best best option might be if you find a decent trail shoe. I'm sure Asics makes some. I don't think that Asics makes a trail version of the Kayano. They make a trail version of the Nimbus. I know that. Um, I don't think they make a trail version of the Kayano. But if they did, you might be able to put a stability insert in it, or put something that's a little more stable. The Spenco Total Support is the insert I carry most in the store. If you go to a Fleet Feet or something, they're going to put you in a Power Step, or a Super Feet. The Curex inserts are really nice. I know that the Spenco Total Support tends to just be the one for us that has got some cushion, but also some firmness, has a really good arch support. If I'm putting that in somebody's shoe that just needs more arch support and more stability, especially in a trail shoe, you might be able to go with that. I'm trying to think if I don't really know of any.
I'm sorry, are you meaning like get a different trail shoe and then put that insert in for the same feel? Okay.
Yeah.
If that were the case, if she was going to do that, like what shoe would you still suggest would be closest for her?
Again, that's the
Just
that's
super narrow.
my limited trail is kind of uh could definitely try the Speed Goat from Hoka. It would, and maybe a little. It is pretty narrow. The Speed Goat is, so that one might work. And you could probably put that insert in there because it doesn't have the Hoka's inserts are not my favorite. With their minimal drop, they do most of their most of the most of their stuff is right on the side, whereas like for I don't have the I was gonna grab my Ghost, but I don't have a Ghost with me. The Ghost and the like glycerin from Brooks really contour their insert really well. Hoka kind of does most everything, just puts it right on the side of the shoe. It's very flat. But that's also down to the fact that it's a like 4 to 5 millimeter drop as opposed to Brooks has anywhere from the 10 to 12 millimeter drops. Um, and everybody's different. Some people love the Hoka inserts and other people don't. My fat foot in the last year hasn't worked for Hoka because again, they've cut in too narrow. Thank goodness they're fixing that. I mean, thank goodness the new Bondi 9 is out. It's already surpassing what the Bondi 8's done in the 3 months we had it beforehand. So it's been really nice, and I'm excited. The same thing with the Arahi coming out in the summer, because the Arahi has been one of our staple shoes, and in the last year and a half or the last year it's been out, it's been too narrow, and the lacing system was too finicky and too tight, and too hard to adjust that folks just weren't buying it. So um, if you need a narrow shoe right now and you want a stability shoe, go get the Arahi while you can because it's going away in 6 months. Um, but it's not bad. So if you like the narrow fit,
I know you don't carry them, but like Solomon Speedcross has a history of being a little bit more narrow. Do you have any experience with those?
I have tried the Speed Cross. We used to have them in stock, and something happened with COVID that they didn't come out. I do know I have a friend here in town who does a lot of trail races, and she'll do like tough mudders and stuff like that, where she's just digging through the mud, and she swears by the Speed Cross. Those trail cleats are, and I 100% agree. Those trail cleats are like the greatest thing that you're gonna get, like in terms of a trail shoe to get the grip, because if you're going through a mud hole, you're not going to get grip like that in anything else. And she's like, yeah, I can get out and get the grip and go out with that. The Speed Cross also tends to somehow weirdly be narrow but fit wide feet at the same time, just because of their lacing system and how it just wraps the foot. I do remember that when I tried them on 3 years ago when I had them here. Um, and it felt really nice. And I was very pleasantly surprised at how they felt. Um, I had friends that wore the Speed Cross every day in a plant on a concrete floor. And I was just like, why? And he was like, because it's the most comfortable thing ever. And I was like, how are you dealing with that with those trail cleats in there? And he's like, I don't know, it just works. But in terms of if you're looking for something that's going to be the Speed Cross is kind of that really weird shoe that it fits really well for a narrow foot, fits really well for a wide foot. They do the arches pretty good, and those trail cleats are just absolutely spectacular. I think we're hoping to get those back in store sometime soon. We've tried, and it's a whole process, unfortunately. So, yeah.
Fair warning with those laces. Like if you get mud on those laces, it's like glue. Like I've
Yeah.
had to cut quite a few Solomon laces because I just couldn't get them undone. Like
Yeah,
after laces and stuff.
and the worst part about those is like you can't just get any other laces to replace those that are like we carry lock laces here in store. I put lock laces in people's shoes all the time. The lock laces are too wide for how narrow the laces are for the Solomons. But I think thankfully you can get some from Solomon because like we have issues with like the Cloud 5 from On running, which is not a running shoe at all, but like they have those speed laces. They don't sell the speed laces to any like just for the sake of selling them. You can't get their
Yeah.
speed laces if they rip or break. You either have to get a new shoe or just put regular laces in them, and kind of sucks.
Yeah, I put regular laces in mine. like, I was like, I'm not gonna buy a new pair and can't get these off of my foot because it's now casted on.
Right.
So yeah. But anyone else have any other follow-on questions? Oh, here we go.
The 1080s, yeah. So I really like the 1080s. We just got the 1080 version 14 in a few weeks ago. It is the 1080 version 13 was one of the softest shoes I've ever put on my foot. So they actually measure shoes based on what they call a durometer. And that is based on, I don't think it's a 100 thing scale, but either way, the lower the durometer on the shoe, the softer it is. So like the Brooks Ghost Max 2 or the Ghost Max 1 has a durometer of a 45, I believe. I believe that the Brooks Ghost has a durometer of like 42. The A6 or not A6 Gel Nimbus 26, and I know that the 1080 version 13 both has a durometer of like 38. So they were like some of the softest, like just squishiest shoes ever. The 1080 version 14, I think, is a little bit. I think it's still really soft. It's not as soft, but it definitely has. You get a little bit more stability out of it. I felt like with the 1080 version 13, it was almost so soft that like if you went either way, like inside or outside, like you were gonna go whichever way, either way. You could, depending on where you step, you could go inside or outside on the ankle. I think the version 14 has got a little bit more stability, so that when every step you take, you don't feel like you're gonna roll the ankle everywhere. But it still feels really nice and cushy. Still takes away a lot of that impact. I've got it back here in store somewhere, but again, have tried it on, really like it. That and the Rebel are two of my favorite from New Balance to pull out for folks. I'm excited to get the new 880 sometime in soon as well.
That's great. Anyone else want to throw in a question before we hop off? We got about a minute. All right. Well, thank you so much, Aaron. This is really illuminating in quite a few different ways. So we really appreciate you coming on and just answering some of the questions that we've had about a range of things. It's been super helpful. I really think that we can take this and, make some good decisions about the next year, and it can kind of push us one way or the other on shoes, which is awesome. It saves time. It, saves us from going through the hassle of returns. It's great. And especially when you can't always go into a store and try on every single shoe, like having somebody come in and talk to you about what options they know about. And those options are very vast, super helpful. So I appreciate it a lot. Sure.
I guess the thing is that I do try on all the shoes when they come in. And if anybody has anything else, feel free to reach out to Leslie. She can get you in touch with me, and I'll be more than happy to answer any personal questions anybody has about certain shoes. So.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think, Rosie, did you have a question? You raised your hand.
I saw her hand.
Okay, I will send out this is my daughter. She's ready for bed.
It is bedtime.
I will send out an email to everybody along with a recording of this, and just include all of Aaron's information in case there are any follow-ups. Thank you again, Aaron. It's been a great time, and I really, really appreciate you spending the night with us. So, thank you.
Y'all great.
Oh, did you see that, Aaron? Thanks, and go dogs.
Yeah, go dogs.
Got a fellow fan. All right, you guys have a good night.
Everyone have a good night.
Are you finished?
I am finished.
Can I watch this one where it shows
Hold on, baby. I gotta start the party.
Cute. Good night.
Bye. Bye.